Welcome back to Night Talk once again, and we welcome the award-winning journalist Joan Konner to the program. She has been Dean of the Columbia University School of Journalism, professor at NBC News, and executive producer for Bill Moyers. She has also put together a book called The Atheist's Bible, an illustrious collection of irreverent thoughts. And we are honored to have you here.
Thank you
on the program. Tell me first of all about the book.
Well, it's a post-dean book. I was dean of the school for 9 years, and although I had produced more than 50 documentaries, both for public television and NBC News, it was rather embarrassing not to have done any book and be dean of the journalism school. And I do love ideas, and the idea popped into my head.
It's funny, though. We do live in an era where journalists feel compelled to have something out there we can put on a shelf, because once we've done that, we feel now we have credibility.
Yeah, that's right. Because it lasts. And when you do documentaries, it's like a stone in a pool. It goes to the bottom. It makes ripples if it's good, but somehow it dissolves like sugar in coffee.
Yeah, and only the Museum of Broadcasting, luckily, is there for those who are interested to go find them again. But the coffee has been chilled a bit over the years.
Yes.
Talk to me, though, about why this book, especially, The Atheist Bible. Was it a response to the times in which we live?
That's one of the prime reasons. Another prime reason is because I have always loved the reporting of ideas. I think it's an undercovered beat, although it does appear sometimes, someplace, and in small magazines. But I think of ideas, I don't know, they intoxicate me. They're like the bubbles in the wine of life. It turns it into champagne. And this was post-deaning, and I had the time, and a couple of people, and the title popped into my head. And I mentioned it to a couple of people, and yes, it was the times. The religious zealotry, the overstatement, the exclusiveness of one religion against another, the separation of church and state was under attack. And I mentioned the title to a couple of friends, and they said, you have to do it, you have to do it. Well, I was a religion and philosophy major in college, and I knew there was a long history to atheism, and it seemed as though in this society, at this time, it was time for atheists to come out of the closet, which of course they have done while I was writing the book. There have been a few. But they're advocates. I'm not advocating. I think of this as a soundbite history.
Well, a collection of thoughts by people throughout the course of history who are skeptical thinkers, shall we say.
Yeah, that's exactly it. From Aristotle to Pliny the Elder to Frank Sinatra.
I never thought I'd hear those names in the same sentence, but why not? Talk to me about the times we live, though, and ideas, because the business that you and I chose to go into has changed so much over the years, and it seems like ideas certainly don't get the respect and the coverage that they used to.
They do not. Actually, I think the Boston Globe is one of the papers that still keeps a column on ideas, and books fit into that. The New York Times had an ideas page for several years. It was excellent. It talked about ideas in books, ideas in plays, ideas in the culture, how ideas, in fact, determine the course of history. They're just on a longer timeline. And somehow, in the rush of change in technology and in the commercial bottom line orientation of the business, it falls by the wayside. But ideas really do determine the course of history.
Why is it, do you think, that they get so little respect right now? Television news doesn't spend a lot of time on ideas, does it?
None. Yeah. I would say, except for Bill Moyers, my former colleague. I mean, he did a series on faith and reason last summer. There is an audience out there, but it's not this mass audience that the networks are looking for. But people are so looking for meaning, purpose, understanding of life, perhaps because of our materialistic culture. There's a lot of interest in it. And besides that, this administration has politicized religion to such a large extent that now that's in the news.
And the media itself seems to have been politicized, where we now suddenly find ourselves, to a great extent, identifying our news sources with partisan, political tribes, shall we say.
Yes, tribes is a very, very good word. We are splintering into tribes. I do think that while I'm very critical of what it's called the shouting voices on TV, that it's a not entirely negative idea to have newscasters and news commentators identify where they're coming from. It's a double-edged sword. Certainly you need the news head-on, facts, fact-based, verifiable, and you certainly need the responsibility and the truthfulness and the you know, all the things that people depend on to become informed. But it's good to know where somebody is coming from.
But if you don't know where they're coming from, except from what you see on the air, and where they're coming from on the air seems to be pretty much straight down the middle, isn't that pretty much what we want anyway? At least in terms of our news source of the day, our one mainstream show of record.
Yes, we do. And we have that to some extent, although the right-wing part of the press calls it the left-wing liberal press.
Right, or the drive-by media. The drive-by media is another phrase that gets used a lot. And I'm wondering whether some people I know and respect on a number of levels have managed to manipulate the game right now so that it's almost like a political campaign where here's one operation looking at another operation, and in order to win in the ratings race, it's not just good enough to compete with superior quality. We're going to denigrate the other guy. We're going to chop off their credibility. And
that's interesting. Now I want a role reversal. I want to hear you talk about that more.
Well, we can, but we have to take a break right now. Actually, I'm here to listen. And I will. We'll be right back with Joan Konner. Don't go away.